We need energy to perform all our activities. Do you know from where we get this energy? We get this energy from the food we eat. Our body produces glucose from food. And plant cells respire in the same way as human cells. Animal cells respire in the same way as human cells. In plants, glucose is created during a process called photosynthesis. And during cellular respiration, glucose is broken down to produce energy. Yawning in the classroom during a long lecture. Yawning is such a common phenomenon. Why do people yawn? Yawning is a response by the body when the brain detects low levels of oxygen. When the oxygen level is low, the body has to increase its oxygen intake. A yawn can facilitate this. Our body gets its normal supply of oxygen by the process we call breathing. While carrying out our daily activities, we are hardly aware of the fact that we are breathing. But this process of taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide is very important to our body, and many different organs are involved in carrying out the process efficiently. These organs together constitute the respiratory system. Let's check what organs altogether constitute our respiratory system. The human respiratory system consists of the nasal cavity, nasopharynx, larynx, glottis, epiglottis, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs, and diaphragm. Let's take a closer look at each of them. The nasal cavity lies above the mouth. The nostrils are the openings to the nasal cavity. The nostrils and nasal cavity are the point of entrance and exit for air. The nasal cavity opens into the nasopharynx. The nasopharynx is a route for the passage of air. The glottis is an opening between the vocal folds and the larynx. The epiglottis is a thin flap which covers the glottis. It prevents food from entering the larynx and instead directs the food into the food pipe. The larynx lies at the top of the trachea. The larynx helps in sound production. The trachea is a tube-like structure. C-shaped cartilaginous rings keep the air passage open and prevent the trachea from collapsing when the air pressure decreases. Fine hair breathing is the mechanical process which results in the passage of air in and out of the lungs. Let's learn how our respiratory system carries out the process of breathing. Before that, observe this experiment. Why were the balloons inside the bottle being inflated and deflated? When the rubber layer at the bottom of the bottle is pulled, the pressure inside the bottle is reduced. This creates a difference in air pressure inside and outside the bottle. As a result, air rushes in and the balloons inflate. On the other hand, if you push the rubber layer inwards, the pressure inside the bottle increases as compared to that outside. This causes the air to move out. The balloons now deflate. The rubber layer in this setup represents the diaphragm. The space inside the bottle is analogous to the thoracic cavity, and the two balloons are like the two lungs. As in this setup, breathing also works on the principle of difference in air pressure. Breathing is carried out in two stages: inhalation or inspiration and exhalation or expiration. Breathing in is called inhalation. During inhalation, air moves into the lungs. Let's see how this happens. Inhalation starts when the muscles of the diaphragm contract and flatten in shape. This pushes the abdominal viscera downward. Simultaneously, the external intercostal muscles, that is, muscles present between the ribs, contract. This causes the ribs to move upwards and outwards. The chest cavity expands. This reduces the air pressure inside the thoracic cavity. Consequently, air enters the lungs from outside via the nostril, pharynx, larynx and trachea and the bronchi. The air finally reaches the alveolar region, which is richly supplied by blood capillaries. In the alveoli, oxygen diffuses into the blood and carbon dioxide moves from the blood to the alveolar region. This completes the inhalation process. During exhalation, carbon dioxide-rich air moves out of the body through the nasal cavity. Let's see how this happens. Now, the muscles of the diaphragm relax, and it returns to its domed shape. Simultaneously, the external intercostal muscles relax, bringing the rib cage back to its original depressed position. These changes cause the volume of the thorax to decrease, which in turn causes the air pressure inside the thorax to increase and causes air to leave the lungs. This completes one breathing cycle, and the process starts anew with the next inhalation. Why do doctors recommend breathing exercises to get relief from fatigue? In humans, the digestive process has 5 stages: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. The first step is to take food in through the mouth. This stage is called ingestion. The teeth help in breaking down the food into small particles. The tongue is a muscular organ that helps by rolling food and mixing it with saliva. We taste different flavors because of the presence of taste buds on the tongue. The tongue has regions for different tastes, such as sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. The process of digestion or breakdown of food starts in the buccal cavity. Salivary glands present in the mouth secrete saliva. Saliva contains digestive juice or the enzyme salivary amylase. This helps in the digestion of carbohydrates, changing starch to sugar. The chewed food is swallowed and is pushed down to the stomach by the wall of the esophagus. The stomach is a U-shaped, thick-walled bag. The walls of the stomach secrete digestive juices, mucus, and hydrochloric acid. Mucus protects the stomach lining. Hydrochloric acid kills germs and provides an acidic medium. In an acidic medium, the digestive juices can break down proteins into simpler substances. Semi-liquid food now enters the longest region of the digestive tract, the small intestine. It is called small because of the smaller diameter. It is highly coiled and is about 7.5 meters long. The first part of the small intestine, the duodenum, receives digestive juices from liver and pancreas. The liver, the largest gland of our body, helps in the digestion of fats by secreting bile. Bile is stored in a small sac called the gallbladder. The pancreas is located just below the stomach. It secretes pancreatic juice, which helps in the digestion of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Partly digested food reaches the ileum, the final region of the small intestine. Enzymes in the intestinal juice complete digestion here. The proteins are broken down into amino acids, carbohydrates into sugars, and fats into glycerol and fatty acids. The digested food is now ready to be absorbed into the blood. The walls of the ileum have finger-like projections called villi. They increase the surface area for better absorption of digested food. The digested food materials are now absorbed into the blood and transported to all parts of the body. In the cells of the body, these nutrients are utilized or assimilated. Food is assimilated for energy release, growth, and repair. The undigested materials enter the large intestine. Here, water and some salts are reabsorbed into the body. The remaining waste materials move into the rectum. The semi-solid undigested waste called feces is finally removed through the anus. The process of removal of undigested waste from the body is called egestion. Water is the elixir of life, but fresh water is available only in limited quantities. We require water for a variety of functions. We then use it to flush away our domestic and industrial waste into large water bodies. After this, how do we get a clean water supply for our use? Water containing waste and impurities is cleaned in a water treatment plant. The clean water is then returned to us. In the same way, we have a limited supply of blood that keeps circulating inside our body. It transports useful materials to our body's cells. In return, the body cells release waste into the blood. What happens to this waste? Do we have body parts that can remove waste materials from our blood? The digestive system of our body removes feces containing undigested food through the anus. What other waste products does our body produce? Apart from fecal matter, which is the digestive waste, the human body also produces other waste materials such as urine, sweat, and carbon dioxide. Urine is removed through the urinary or the excretory system. Carbon dioxide is removed through the respiratory system by exhalation. Skin gets rid of excessive salts and water through sweat. This also helps in regulating body temperature. These wastes are toxic and therefore dangerous, so our body needs to get rid of them. The process of removing these waste materials is called excretion